It's all in our hands, this life of time that's given to us all. It gathers round each night, each morn. We watch it pass and grow. It is all in our hands, it is all in our hands.
A few weeks ago, I began a new larger piece of a self-portrait. After a loving visit and gift from my mom of these beautiful white tulips, I was immediately struck with inspiration. I really enjoy creating art from my connections or the people that I have in my life or the simple everyday moments. And in this new journey, I'll be exploring the connections with myself. Who knows what'll happen as the process unfolds, but I invite you to join me for the ride as I further dive into self-exploration through this painting. I'm constantly trying to find the meaning and explanation to things. I'm generally a very curious person and always want to be learning something new. First, I looked into the meaning of tulips. Each flower carries their own significance, but reading the symbolism structured around love surprised me and allowed me to connect with it. Then I looked into other self-portraits from other centuries. To be honest, I haven't paid attention to other artists' self-portraits before, but after digging deep in research, it was so interesting to read about what self-portraits meant to these artists, why they did them, and how they are important to us, and the vital role they play in history. Paying close attention to the expressions and the colors that the artists used allowed me to almost see myself in the portrait, almost as if I was looking at my reflection. Finding different quotes was super eye-opening. Reading through their thoughts added to the inspiration as well. Whether I was reading about Salvador Dali, who brings his vision through his surrealism, or Picasso, who's known for his great experimentation, and his art flourished through his shift of styles, the list is endless. For me, it felt like they broke the rules and did whatever they felt from within. That's why each one was so unique and so different. And that's the beauty of us all. Although we have something in common, we're all beautifully unique and different at the same time. But who are we? That's one complex question that can take many years to discover. Speaking of process, to trust the process is easier said than done. The process is long, full of challenges, successes, floods of different emotions, but I've learned to truly fall in love with that. And once I shifted that perspective, I began to enjoy the struggles, enjoy the challenges. And at times, those challenges are great motivation. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because it's easy to get overwhelmed, and I always receive comments on how not to give up. And from personal experience, I can recommend to simply fall in love with all the highs and the lows. And you know why? Because they each have their purpose and they'll each lead you to the finished result, which then will lead you to another adventure and journey. Now, things may seem like sunshine and butterflies all the time, but we all have so much going on in our lives, and it's okay to allow yourself to feel emotions. As someone who loves drawing and painting portraits, there are times where I fear self-portraits. But why? I always want to tackle my fears head-on, and for me, it's always helpful to do it through creativity. Now, this isn't my first self-portrait. Here's the one that I did in my final year of art school, about 3 years ago when I feared the subject even more. I titled it Equilibrium, since I'm constantly trying to find the balance in life. And as life progresses, I hope to bring forward this new era in mine in this next self-portrait. So if you're wondering if I felt any fears or worries before starting, yes, there's only the world watching. But a little voice inside told me that this will be good, and listening to your gut feeling is also part of it. I trust in myself and I believe in myself, and I hope that inspires you to believe in yourself too. I just knew that I no longer wanted to fear this subject, and as this new phase of life unfolds, and I've been filled with all this magical creativity, connections, and love, I wanted to take action and capture it while it's hot and heavy on my heart. Recently, I feel all these ideas sizzling inside, like they're stirring up and waiting to come out. I started with a bunch of reference photos and I filtered through and looked at one that felt like the one. You'll just feel it when you see it. I thoroughly enjoy sketching on the wooden panel, and the sketch I completed of line drawings and very light values was strictly for placement. I usually plan out all the details, but I'm going to do something a little different with this one and let things reveal themselves, and I decided to keep the mystery going of the self-exploration process during the painting. Sometimes you gotta switch it up, right? You may be wondering why I chose to have my eyes closed in the painting. Well, there's a whole meaning behind that, and I promise you'll know why soon. The placement of the sketch was shortly complete, and what I did after was I mixed some matte medium and GAC 100 by Golden. I took a large brush and coated the whole thing. I did 3 coats, and this will seal the wood and make sure that I can just paint right on top. Preparation can take a long time, but it's super crucial for the longevity of the painting. I touched up some of the graphite with a smaller brush. I let that dry for about 24 to 48 hours, and then it's time to start painting. The prep of the panel is one adventure, now the prep of the paint is another. I start by putting on my superhero art cape, which is aka my apron, but as soon as it's on, I'm ready to rock. Now this part's often overlooked, but it's quite important. Since I'll be doing a sepia tone underpainting, I'm pre-mixing large amounts of paints, and I was aiming for the shade of the panel, and also for some more cooler tones. For that, I mixed ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. This way the values stay consistent, and they'll last me a longer period of time. I spend that time doing this so that I can create myself a functional workspace so that my flow state can come forth naturally. The last thing I want is to be fiddling around for some extra paint while I'm painting. That definitely breaks the flow, so I like to prepare it before I begin. I mixed one darker value and one mid-tone closer to the shade of the panel. A giant bucket of water and a nice rag, and it looks like we're good to go. Before I share with you my freeing experiment, I'd love to share a few words about our kind sponsors, Pela. I use my phone to film, as you know, and it comes with me everywhere. Pretty much everyone in my family knows that I love phone cases, and clearly now flowers as well. I'm so excited to be working with Pela once more because they make their phone cases out of plants, and this means that they're compostable. They're also B Corp certified and members of 1% for the Planet, which is incredible. And I think the best part of the case, besides the fact that it's super soft, you can compost the case at home or you can send it back to Pela for them to compost or recycle for you. I truly am in love with this phone case, and Pela as well. Pela was so kind to offer a discount code for us, which is Jess. The first 50 subscribers will get 40% off your purchase at Pela. And after that, you can still get 25% off your purchase, which is amazing. If you're into waste-free stuff and love phone cases just like I do, this just may be the perfect option for you. Thanks, Pela. Okay, so this is what happened. I have a question for you. What makes you feel free when you're creating? And what helps you let loose? As you think about that, I ask myself those same questions. Here are some things I've been thinking about. Usually I tend to start pretty tight and detailed, and I told myself I'm going to do something a bit more daring this time and just drip paint down the panel with a bunch of water and see what happens and what reveals itself. When I tell you this was the most liberating, fun, most freeing exercise you can do for yourself, I am not kidding. I turned on my favorite music, it was blasting through my ears, and I just let gravity take over the paint and the way that it dripped down the panel, and I trusted that it'll all be okay. Sometimes we want to control what goes on the panel and how it goes on the panel, which I do. However, I realized it was beginning to create some beautiful texture that I can layer on top of when it's dry. And that's the beauty of happy accidents. With every passing minute, I felt myself get more bolder and more daring with the brush stroke. Using a big brush helped with that too. I built up a confidence that I knew no one could take away from me. I felt a beautiful rhythm building up, and I knew that if I wouldn't have tried something completely out of my comfort zone, this feeling most likely would not have happened. As I progressed through the drips and the underlayer, I have to be honest, I was itching to grab a thin brush, but I forced myself to stay with this large brush and turn it at different angles. And it's not even any expensive fancy brush. It's quite amazing what you can do with one brush and how far you can push it and take it. During this specific time in my life, I've been feeling immense gratitude and I've truly fallen in love with life and my day-to-day. Hard work has been flourishing. I feel so much love, which I always want to share. And I hope that that energy and those feelings come out forth in this painting. Since acrylic dries quickly, I was able to begin finding the values of the face, and oh boy was I having a blast. I felt like I was in my own fairy tale, and I didn't want it to end. Good thing this is such a giant panel, right? But we now enter the awkward stages of tons of layers until it looks as good as we want it to. There is an underpainting technique called the grisaille method. That's done with black and white, but I chose to do my underpainting with sepia tones. I also rarely use browns in my paintings, and I wanted to take a step back from super bright colors at first and just tone it down with some beautiful neutrals. Let's say earthy colors. I really love the look of light glazes and slowly building up values, tons of thin layers, and I was okay to take that extra time, slow down, and really enjoy the process. Sometimes I just can't help myself but start dancing. It helps me move all that energy of excitement around. But what I was focusing on now was to really get the values right and the lighting, and slowly solidify the way the closed eyes look. Don't underestimate the difficulty of painting closed eyes. It's not easy. I missed painting large pieces because your whole body is involved and you're moving around. I'm constantly stepping back to see how it looks from afar. But I also looked down at my superhero apron and it seemed to be developing a personality as well. It feels crazy to me every time when I'm painting and time seems to fly by. I always say that when you are painting something, you're getting to know the subject. All your senses are tingling, and sometimes I don't even notice it, but with a blink of an eye, it's already sundown. And sometimes I just feel like there's not enough time in the day. And one thing I've been working on through this self-exploration process is to spend more time every day for the things that I love and simply create memories.
It is all in our hands. It is all in our hands. With every field and rising sea, can hear the sounds of all, and with every change we'll always be where hope's not lost but found. It is all in our hands. 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 And we know the change will surely come. Baby, one more trip around the sun. But we'll gather here where land meets sea, where we can be as one.
As this painting unfolds, I'm super excited to see it develop, and here's the progress so far. It's just the start, but it's a great one. The next parts are coming soon, so be sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for coming along the ride and for watching, and I hope you make a little time for that something or someone you love today. And I'll see you soon.